evening and welcome to a very special edition. I'm Lavina Katwani and joining with me today is Mr. Rashesh, the chairman of the Edelweiss Group. Mr. Rashesh Shah, as you all are aware, has over 3 decades of diverse experience in the financial markets and has been instrumental in building Edelweiss into one of India's leading diversified financial services organizations. He is also a regular commentator on macroeconomic policies and firmly believes that financial services will play a major role in powering economic growth and development across India. Rashesh sir, I welcome you again to our platform.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lovina. Thank you, the entire PWA team. But thanks more than anything else. Thanks to all the people who are attending this, all our partners, all our clients who are there. It's always very exciting, very energizing for me to interact with you. I remember maybe about 3, 4 months ago, we had another conversation like this, which I at least had gone away very energized and very excited. So I do hope that, first of all of you are safe, your families are healthy and safe, because that's currently the most important. Whether markets go up or down, more important that is that we and our families and friends are all healthy and safe. And along with that, I would again, as I said, thank you. I think Edelweiss is constantly growing, constantly evolving, but one of the most important stakeholder base that we have are our clients and partners. We always say in Edelweiss that हमारे दो भगवान हैं. एक भगवान clients है और एक भगवान what we call employees and partners है. Because as we become more retail, we have a lot of employees who are either employees on the rolls or are like partners, but they are part of Edelweiss only. And these two groups, the employee partner group as well as the customer group, have made us what we are. Because everything else is incidental. People, who buy our shares, investors and all that, they will all do that only if these two are very solid foundations in Edelweiss. And I'm very happy in the last 2.5 years, in spite of the up and down in the markets and COVID and liquidity crisis of ILFS and all, our these two franchises, the employee partner franchise and the customer franchise, have constantly become stronger. And we have also worked very hard. I mean, all our people have worked very hard to improve our customer feedback scores, to improve, to reduce complaints, to address customer queries more proactively, to build also technology platforms for that. So for us, customers are very important, and employee and partners, because they are the ones who connect us with the customers, are very important. If these two are good, India has so many opportunities, so much growth, so much runway that we have, that you don't have to worry about too much outside. A lot of other people worry too much about competition, or worry too much about stock price, or worry too much about those extracurricular items. I think we believe that if you get these two right, your employee partners and your customers, I think everything else will fall in place. Your business growth, everything will take care of itself. So thank you. So again, good to see all of you who are part of this very, very important stakeholder group for me.
Thanks, Rashesh. So it's indeed very encouraging to have you here speaking to all of us. Some recent events that we have seen, in the recent past have been, I think, some big things are that Edelweiss has sealed a partnership deal with PAG. And we've also seen on the economic front a strong uptick in the markets in the last few weeks. On the other hand, we've also seen the second wave of COVID. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see and how the economy shapes up and how Edelweiss also shapes up in this new financial year. And we're going to be discussing all of this and more with Rashesh sir here on this platform and gain his keen insights. Hence, without waiting any further, I would like to introduce the topic for today, that is Edelweiss perspective for FY22. Uh, Also, I would just like to caution you, all of you, that there may be a time lag of about 10 to 15 seconds due to network or connectivity issues. Kindly bear with us for that. So, sir, FY21 has been quite a volatile year, both at the national and at the global level. And now with FY21 behind us, क्या आप हमें ये बताना चाहेंगे सर कि आपके क्या views हैं? And what would you like to say what's in store for Edelweiss in the coming year?
So yeah, ये बहुत बहुत important question है, and I think we are doing this almost at the start of the new year because on 31st March FY21 got over. और I think सबसे पहला तो there is a sense of relief because in my 30-year career or in my entire, I have never experienced a year like this. It's very important to go back 1 year and think about COVID and lockdown. These are all unprecedented events. I think in our own careers we have never seen things like this. So this was a very unprecedented year, highly volatile, and there were two crises. There was a healthcare crisis and there was an economic crisis at the same time. The best news is that we have all survived that year, and if you survive, that itself is good enough. But I think what has happened for all of us as individuals, for economy, for everything, not only have we survived, strangely, we all become stronger. After facing this kind of a year, I think most people have become stronger. They've realized what is important. They've spent time with families. They've realized the important things, that chasing consumerism and that all of that has come down. People have reevaluated what is really valuable in terms of health and family and everything else. So all that is a good news. On the economic front also, what we have seen in the last 5-6 months is amazing. For last 8 years in India, people have been talking about animal spirits वापस आना चाहिए, and it's very hard to describe. A lot of people ask me, animal spirits क्या होता है? It's very hard to describe. I mean, in stock market, we see that, a lot of people who invest in the market know that अभी sentiment क्या है, but that sentiment changes very fast. But in business, this animal spirits is something very palpable when you talk to entrepreneurs and businessmen and all that. And after 2012, after almost 8 or 9 years, for the first time, I am seeing animal spirits come back. And there are many small examples. Like we have clients who a couple of years ago, entrepreneurs who will come and say, if you can find a buyer of our business, मेरा छोटा मोटा business है. If you find a buyer, I would like to sell the business, get the cash, invest it in the mutual fund or stock market through you, and only earn a return. Because 2-3 years ago, people were tired, they were fatigued, they were not as optimistic. Businessmen. Same people now are coming and saying, we want to do an IPO, we want to acquire some company, we want to raise capital, we want to grow. And that is what is called animal spirits. And I think animal spirits are back. I think the Indian economy is back. We had three big trends in the last few years. I think the first trend was a downtrend that started in 2012. So 2012 se slowly and steadily GDP had been slowing down. First because of all those corruption scandal and policy paralysis, which was followed after that with demonetization and GST and all the changes and NPAs in banks, and then ILFS crisis. So we had already a slowing economy over the years. We were slowly and steadily slowing. Then in 2018, when ILFS crisis happened, it got worse because now liquidity crisis got added to a slowdown which was already there. Ideally, you should have much easy liquidity when there is a slowdown, but there was a slowdown and there was a liquidity crunch. So it became very bad. And then we had COVID after that. So there were three big trends: the normal business downtrend, the ILFS, after ILFS liquidity led downtrend, and the COVID downtrend. In the last, since October, all three have reversed. So in a way, your short-term average, your medium-term average, and the long-term average all have started, moving up at the same time. So we are seeing a strong reversal, and this is real. This looks real. As I said, in my 30-year experience, I've never seen this kind of animal spirits too often. I saw it in 2004. I saw it in 99, 2000 for a brief while, but this is what is unleashing a lot of optimism and all. So I'm very bullish. I think a new phase of growth has started in India. Along with that, the liquidity conditions have also eased. RBI has been more accommodative. The government has become a lot more business friendly, investment friendly in the last year. So a lot of things are falling in place for real economic growth to come back in India. We have not seen that 8-9% growth for a long time, but hopefully in the next 4-5 years we should get there. For Edelweiss also,
Sir,
yeah.
very sorry to interrupt, but I think the audience is giving feedback that your voice is a little low. So if you could
Okay.
just, move a little closer to the mic.
Okay. I'm going to hold the computer much closer to my face.
Thank you.
So hopefully
Thank
this
you,
should
sir.
help. So the
Right.
other part is about Edelweiss. So as I said, economy very bullish. I think after a long time we're seeing this kind of optimism. I think Edelweiss also last year, actually last 3-4 years have been very important for us because we started off Edelweiss as one company and we had various business divisions. We had a credit division and a wealth management division and an asset management division. But around 2016-17, we started becoming more creating independent companies. So our Edelweiss Wealth Management, for example, was a division, but it became an independent company. And as you said, we recently did the PAG deal, in which we have sold 51% to actually they will own 55 and we will own 45 approximately. They will own 56 plus something and we'll own the balance in the Edelweiss Wealth Management business. So we converted Edelweiss from one company with many divisions to many companies underneath. So now we have NBFC, housing finance, retail finance, ARC, wealth management, asset management, AMC, life insurance, general insurance, and all these are independent companies. So what we have done in the last 4 years is created standalone independent companies and moved more closer to a group concept rather than a multi-division company. Because in a multi-division, up to a point, it was okay, but each of the business has so much growth ahead of them that they needed their own capital, their own structure, maybe their own investors, their own board, and that is what we have done. We have now created about 10 businesses inside Edelweiss, and each of the businesses now fairly independent, has got their own capital. So our total capital is allocated across all the businesses: NBFC, ARC, housing finance, wealth management, asset management, insurance. And that has been the best achievement because in the last 2 years, I think that has been one area which has helped Edelweiss a lot. Because though our NBFC had a slowdown, there was a degrowth because of obviously NBFC crisis, but all our other businesses continued their growth path. And that was very encouraging because we have been able to now really create independent businesses, standalone businesses. And as with Edelweiss Wealth Management, we are bringing partners who are taking minority stakes, majority stakes, and basically making the businesses more and more standalone because each business has a lot of growth opportunity ahead of them. And by making them independent, that is helping them create their own path. Okay, that is helping them create their own future in that sense. So I think that way also we starting Edelweiss FY22 with a strong platform for Edelweiss because last 2.5 years all our liquidity assumptions got stress tested, all our assumptions on asset quality got stress tested. COVID bhi ho gaya, but I think this kind of Agni Pariksha was very important, and we are now Edelweiss is now 25 years old. We started 25 years ago with 1 crore of capital and 2 employees, and now we have close to 10,000 crores of capital and almost 10,000 employees. And we had only one business at that time. We have 10 businesses now. So, but this last 2 years, the adversity and the climate has allowed us to become stronger. Our balance sheet, liquidity, our businesses, as I said, the customer focus, the technology investments, all of them have become stronger. So last 2 years have been a very important investment phase for us, and we are very grateful that while growth was happening, we were also able to invest into businesses to create a platform because when India starts growing, the stronger your platform, the more you will be able to grow. And we have truly very fortunate that we used the last 2-3 years. In spite of the crisis, we didn't scale back, we didn't stop investing, we continue to invest in building the platform, and that is helping us a lot.
Right, that was indeed very insightful, sir. A lot of inputs on the growth, on how we've grown, how the last 2 years, even the animal spirit. I thought that was also a very interesting insight, that we've seen. So, sir, we spoke about the recent partnership deal, and we spoke about that, majority of the Edelweiss stake will lie with PAG. Any particular reason behind this, sir, which you would like to throw some light on?
So as I said, I think our idea is that we actually can build businesses. We like our Edelweiss Wealth Management is a business we started 20 years ago. We started with investment banking, then added brokerage, institutional equities, research, sales and trading. Then we added wealth management. We acquired Anagram a few years ago. So we can build businesses, we can invest some capital. So maybe in wealth management, we may have invested about 100 crores of capital up till now. But along with 100 crores of capital, we have also invested 20 years of hard work of building the business. And now we feel with a partner with more capital, independent listing, as we have announced also, that we would like to spin off this company and make it independently listed, because this can be a standalone company. And there are a lot of examples in India, like ICICI has got insurance company that is listed, SDFC is a mutual fund that is listed. Because India there is so much growth that Edelweiss can act as a, that we can start great businesses, we can create and build great businesses. But at some point, getting a partner, getting additional capital, and clearing the pathway for that business to now be independent and grow on its own with Edelweiss as an important stakeholder. But it's a great way of taking it. So our strategy across Edelweiss has been put a little bit of capital, whether it's in a life insurance business or our ARC business or a housing finance business, put a little bit of capital, create a great management team, great culture, help them with operation. They're always teething problems, and even in the Edelweiss wealth management business, there are not every year has been great. There are times we were floundering for getting our strategy right, then we are floundering for getting our execution right. But if you have patience and you hard work, I think ultimately things fall in place because the opportunity is there. So we bring in some capital, culture, value system, management team, build a business, handhold it, help it grow. Then us at a certain point, get in a partner who gives it more capital. Then after that, make it independent. And that we see as a unique capability of Edelweiss, that we can build great businesses. We got capital to put initially, like with a lot of our businesses we are the 100% owner. Like the mutual fund, we own 100% of our mutual fund. Our general insurance business, we own 100% of that. So we invest money as an owner, as an as the initial investor, build that business, but keep it independent, let it grow. Then when needed, bring a partner, grow it even further. The partner not only brings capital, brings also governance capability and that independence out there, and then grow it. Like in our insurance business, in the life insurance business, we have brought Tokio Marine is a partner. Edelweiss owns 51%, Tokio Marine owns 49%. They've invested close to 1,500 crores in that business. So partners give you international perspectives, capability, strategic ability, capital, all of that. And then if the business becomes even bigger, and then all stakeholders benefit, employees get a lot of growth opportunity, Edelweiss shareholders get an opportunity to participate in that wealth and that growth. And unlike a normal private equity fund or a venture capital fund who have 3 years, 5 year horizon, we can take 20, 25-year horizon. So we start building our mutual fund in 2008 from scratch, and now it's come a long way. But in India, it takes time to build businesses. My own experience has been it takes 10 to 15 years to build a business when you start a business, and you need to have that horizon. You can't build a business in 3 years, even by throwing a lot of capital at it. So yeah, you need some capital. Capital is essential, but with capital, you need people, you need culture, you need strategy, you need value system, you need that hand holding. It's like kids. I mean, you have kids and kids take time. I mean, by the time they're 18 and 20, a lot of hand holding goes into that. So we want to build businesses, take 20, 30-year horizon on them. And that's the opportunity in India, because our economy is doubling in 7 years. Every 7 to 8 years, our economy has doubled in size, and that's not going to stop. For the next 20 years, 25 years, we see that happening. So अगले 7-8 साल में economy double होगी. उसके 7-8 साल में इकोनॉमी और एक बार डबल होगी, विच मीन्स इट बिकम्स 4 टाइम्स, वो 4 गुना हो जाएगी। उसके 7-8 साल में वो 8 गुना हो जाएगी। तो 8 से लेके अगर आप अगला 25 साल का देखते हैं, तो 25 years from now our economy will be 8 times this current size, and that has to be an opportunity. To give you an idea, Lovina, USA, America, which is the biggest economy in the world, was India's size in 1980. They were $3 trillion. We are also $3 trillion now, but that was in 1980. Today in 2020, America is a $20 trillion economy. So they've gone from 3 trillion to 20 trillion in 40 years. So India is also 3 trillion. So in a way, maybe India is equal to USA in 1980. And in this 40 years, they've had the global financial crisis and 9/11, and you have all of that. In spite of that, in 40 years, USA, which was already a fairly mature economy at that stage, as compared to India, which is still a very young economy with a lot of urbanization and infrastructure investment still happening, we should easily, double our economy size every 7 to 8 years. And if that is there, then there is a lot of, but you need to take a long-term view, because short-term volatility hogi. Like for example, we are all optimistic on the rebound, but this COVID has come in. There is a wave 2 that has come in. So you need to navigate the short-term volatility, uncertainty. Markets will be very, very, highly volatile, lot of uncertainty. It will look like India is coming to an end. Indian economy is coming to an end. And I've seen in my 30-year career at least 8 or 9 times where it looked like everything was bleak, everything was dark. It was in after 2000 crash, after 2003 mein hua tha, 2008 mein hua, 2013-14 when taper tantrum happened, it looked like last year itself in COVID, March and April, it looked like, my God, how will India manage COVID? How will Indian economy be able to take this shock? But we bounce back because India is still a very vibrant economy. So I always say that have faith in India, but keep that faith on long term, because in short term, India will challenge you. Things will go wrong, market crisis will happen, liquidity crisis will happen, rules will change, all of that will happen. But in the long term, and in my 30 years, I've seen Indian economy has gone to, from about 200 billion to 3 trillion. So Indian economy has grown 15 times in my career itself.
सर हमने बहुत सारी बात की अबाउट हिस्ट्री विद ग्लोबल प्लेयर्स एंड इंस्टीट्यूशंस। ये जो 25 साल हमारे हुए हैं सर, वी कवर्ड इन दीस 25 इयर्स, क्या आप हमें उसके बारे में कुछ बताना चाहेंगे दैट व्हाट हैव बीन आवर लर्निंग्स? और ये लर्निंग्स जो हमें मिली है, ये पार्टनरशिप्स विद ग्लोबल प्लेयर्स, इंस्टीट्यूशंस, हाउ हैव दीज लर्निंग्स एडेड वैल्यू टू आवर ब्रांड? हमारे ब्रांड को क्या फायदा मिला है? आई मीन, हाउ डू वी थिंक इट्स एडेड वैल्यू टू अस सर?
So earlier when we started, we thought capital and balance sheet was very important. Assets and balance sheet is very important. As I said earlier, we have learned that your employees, your partners, your customers are the most important asset you have. Now, how do you invest in that is a big thing, and we invest a lot in our employees. I mean, it has been one single obsession we have had from day one. When we were 2 people and we hired one more person, the first outside employee from the co-founders. From that day onwards, we have had a stock option plan. We had all of that, and we are obsessed about that, because if you don't get that right, then we don't get partners right. We don't get partners right. We don't get customer right, because that's all a chain. So that is one thing. The second, I have learned that culture and value systems matter. They matter more than your balance sheet. They matter more than your stock price. They matter more than your profits and growth rate. Because in the long term, that's like the foundation. वो एक पेड़ होता है ना, when there is a tree out there, what you see above the tree is important, but what is underneath the tree are the roots. They are the ones who keep the tree stable. They are the ones who get the real water when rainfall is not there. The roots get the water and supply it. But what happens with the roots is they are invisible. Who sees the roots? Nobody sees the roots. And as the tree gets bigger, what you see above the ground is equal to what is below the ground. So always call culture and value system as the roots of the company, the foundation of the company. Unfortunately, it's invisible. You don't see that. If you are a client of Edelweiss, you will feel it. You know it is there, but it's not something that is highly visible on an everyday basis. But it is very, very important. That is another thing I've learned. Third, as I said, having a long-term view. It takes 10, 15 years. We have started businesses where we thought, 5 saal mein we will go from here to here. It goes well for 3 years, then 3 years go badly because markets change, your strategy has to change, your execution doesn't work out, some, back office issues come up, all that things happen. So you have to take long-term view, and it's not a straight line. There is a up and down, but when it is a down, in fact, the down years, that's a fourth learning I have, that the down years are the best years to learn. When business is not working out well, when execution is struggling, when things are not going well, you learn the most. In fact, you become very arrogant and complacent when everything is going well. So we have in our 25 years, thankfully, we have had 8 very good years. We have eight average years, and we have had 8 very bad years. So bad that you feel things are going wrong, nothing is working out. But those 8 bad years have taught us a lot and actually have been the foundation for the next, good years. So I always see that every 3 years, out of every 3 years, एक साल अच्छा होगा, एक साल average होगा, एक साल बुरा होगा. And you take all of them in the stride, they have their own benefit, especially the bad years. They teach you the most if you have a learning mindset. So that's another thing in Edelweiss we cultivate, and we ask anything. When somebody says, we did this, it didn't work out, the first question I ask is, what did we learn? Not who to blame, or how can we be so stupid. And we have done a lot of stupid things in the past, but rather than say, why did we do the stupid thing, or who did it, let's find somebody to blame. The first thing we ask is, okay, this happened, what did we learn, and how do we then incorporate all the learnings in our. And I think as individuals also, that's the best thing. We all make mistakes. I mean, I look at my, I'm now about close to 58 years old. In my 58 years, I remember all the mistakes I've made. But have we learned? Because it's been a journey of ability to learn, ability to look and say, because we are all human beings. If human beings will not make mistakes, they will all become gods. So I think agar आदमी है तो you will make mistakes, but you will learn from the mistakes only. So bad years are very good teachers for you, and you should take them as that. So I think that these are the few things we have learned. People, culture, value, customers, long-term view. If you get all this right, ultimately we are very fortunate कि इंडिया में इतना growth है कि आप the founder of Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, said that America has so much growth opportunities that if you are an investor for long enough, you will become rich, no matter where you start. Maybe you'll take 20 years, you'll take 30 years or 40 years, but over a period of time, if you are a consistent investor, you will become rich in America. And I think the same applies in India. If you are consistent and take a 20, 30, now what happens is there are a lot of people who are 30 years old. And when you tell them take a 30-year view on your investing strategy, they start getting shocked because everybody wants to make money in the next 3 or 5 years. Along with that, I think I should also add we have made mistakes. We have made mistakes when we were in a hurry. We made mistakes when we tries to copy other people. Sometimes होता है हर किसी को FOMO आता है. I don't know if you have heard the word FOMO. So sometimes आपको भी FOMO होता है कि everybody is starting a fintech, we should start a fintech. Everybody is starting a SPAC, we should start a SPAC. So we have learned that over the years, don't go after fads. Do things which are core to your strategy. You keep on expanding the business, expanding your strategy, but don't act out of FOMO or किसी के देखा देखी में आके करना. And we have also made those mistakes in the past, but we have learned from them. So I think all this have been the last 25 years of Edelweiss. I think I'm also very grateful that we are now 25 years old and we are now taking our second guard. After a batsman scores 100, he takes a fresh guard for the next 100. We are effectively taking a fresh guard for the next 25 years in Edelweiss. And with all your support and all your encouragement, I'm sure the next 25 years will be as exciting as the last 25 years have been.
Right. So that's indeed so much to understand and so much to learn, and looking forward to these exciting times. But sir, there was something that you spoke about, that we learn a lot from our mistakes. We learn a lot from what are the right things that happen as well as what are the wrong things that happen. Sir, we wanted to ask you that Edelweiss has witnessed some unwarranted media glare in the last 12 to 14 months. Anything around that you would like to share, sir? Your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think you can call it unwarranted because all of us want only the good news out there. And now we have, we have 10 businesses, we have so many partners, so some minority shareholder, and with the kind of breadth we have, because we are not one company, we are 10 companies now. And कहीं ना कहीं कुछ ना कुछ तो होता है, but it's been 25 years, and I think maybe an article a year or some bad press a year, but we also get a lot of good press. In fact, I must say that we've been very fortunate. The number of articles about Edelweiss, about me, my interviews, I think a lot more than I deserve have also been there. So you learn over the years to take the good with the bad. We all want only the good. Like I say now, everybody wants to eat only ice cream, but you don't want Karela ka juice along with that. But Karela ka juice also has its own, good value. In life, you get both. I think har saal at our breadth, our size, we are 10 businesses, 10,000 people, so many partners, so many, and kahin na kahin, especially last 2 3 years, everybody has been pushing because everybody has felt the stress. Everybody wants liquidity. So you have some minority shareholder who's unhappy because he wants liquidity and he's not getting liquidity. All that happens. I mean, yes, in the future, we want to make sure that we have investors who are, large pension funds and insurance companies and very reputed institutions. But in the past, when we were small in some businesses, we had investors of all kinds. All that is part of that. And again, my thing is, media तो एक दिन का काम होता है. Ultimately, the foundation of the organization is not built by media and it cannot be destroyed by media. एक दो दिन के लिए कुछ आता है, excitement होता है, सब, all that is part of that. So I always tell us, let's take it in our stride, because as you said, in the last 2 years there have been maybe a few bad articles, but in the same 2 years we have added so many customers. I mean, if you see our investor presentation that is there, we have added almost 2 million customers in the last 2.5 years. We have added people, we have hired employees. So our whole thing is that as long as our employees are loyal to us and believe in our values and our culture, and as long as our customers are able to see value, they are seeing the value. Like insurance customers, they are investing with us for 10 years, and they are happy to do that because we have some good products which really meet their needs and all that. So our idea is more than, I think, media. I think customers and employees, if our customers come and say we are not happy with this, we will immediately address that. But if media writes an article, because media is not a stakeholder, they have their own agenda, they will have their own, they will write some good stories also, and there are a lot of good stories about Edelweiss also. But unfortunately, I think people don't always remember the good. Always the bad gets forwarded. I ask people, do you forward good news or bad news more often? Everybody forwards bad news, and I think one of the things I do is I only forward the good stuff. When some gossip comes in, when some bad article about somebody comes in, like today somebody will say there's an article about so and so company के ऊपर NCLT filing हुआ है. At least 5 people will forward it to me, and my job is that I don't forward it to another 5 people. Uh, but if there is a good thing, if there is some good song or somebody's achieved something, I will always be happy to forward. Because I think we all should also make sure the balance in the world between good and bad is maintained. We can't allow the bad to really overwhelm us as compared to the good. And there is a lot of good. I think the last year also, if I look at this year, there has been more good than bad overall for Edelweiss in that sense also. Our banks and regulators and all have been very, very, kind to us. They have really understood because our business model was going through a stress test and all that. But overall, I think most partners, most stakeholders have been very, very benign and fair to us. So I don't grudge that. I think it's okay. I think ultimately in the long term, businesses will find their own place. And there'll be 10 businesses in Edelweiss. Each of them will have their own good and bad press as we go along, because there is not one Edelweiss anymore. There are 10 different businesses of Edelweiss now.
Sir, on the good thing, that I think we all have heard so much about your passion for fitness, for marathons. What we would like to know, on a positive note, is that how have you managed with the strict regime during this COVID times? और आपने आपका वो सीक्रेट मंत्र क्या है सर, जो आपको इतना काम रख रहा है, आपको इतना you seem to be completely calm and in control of everything. What is that secret mantra, sir? We would
No, no.
like to
See,
learn from
all of us are human beings. I think, very often under say you might be agitated, but you are calm outside. Sometimes even outside, as I'm sure a lot of employees in Edelweiss have seen me. There are meetings where I'm not that calm also. But hota hai. But we have a culture of trust. So in the trust, if you push or argue with each other, that is all part of that. But I think, as I said, when you look at the long term, you become calmer because in the long term, ultimately, even if you look at stock market, there'll be short term volatility. But when you take a long term view, you can only see the long term trend line. The BSE Sensex was about 700 when I started my career. I don't know how much it is now. I think 49,000, 50,000. I don't know what it is. So when you take a long-term view, in fact, one of the things I do is I don't watch the market on an everyday basis because I believe the long-term trend is more important and that is more calming. Now, if you are an intraday trader or you are a very active investor, you have to see it all the time. But as a business builder, I feel I can take a long-term view, and I think the long-term view is very calming. I think on the fitness and all, I think all of us have to manage our financial health, but also our physical health. But ultimately, health is also the wealth that you enjoy. And I do believe that with all the urbanization and the stress and the lifestyle we have, countering it with some amount of time you spend on being healthy. And it can be anything. It can be walking, running, swimming, gym, whatever else. And I always tell people, 20 minute karo, don't do 2 hours and all. Of course, there are times I run for 3-4 hours at a stretch, but you don't have to do that. You have to do 20-30 minutes a day. Yoga karo, pranayam karo, kuch bhi karo. But I think investing in yourself is very important because I think that investment will give you a lot of return. People ignore themselves and work hard, and ultimately your body is also like anything else. You want to make sure it is stronger, it becomes stronger, and it is rejuvenated and all that. So exercise and also rest. So ultimately, Lovina, I've seen that the rules of building a business are very simple. It's like I mean, it's a if you want to be fit or lose weight, the rules are very simple. Eat carefully, exercise regularly, sleep well, drink, hydrate yourself, drink enough water. 5 या 6 ही रूल है, बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स नहीं है. 1,000 books are written on Atkins diet and South Beach diet or this diet and that diet and all that. But the underlying rules are very commonsensical. They are not very complex. But following those rules is the hard work. And the same thing applies to even business building. Ultimately, business building के rules क्या है? Manage your cost carefully, look after your people, be fair to your customers, invest in innovation because customers want newer things. They are not too many rules you have to really worry about, but following them, not not taking shortcuts, hurrying through that, all those are the more important one. Its execution is more important than strategy in all this. Like I always say in weight loss, execution is more important than strategy. Strategy to koi bhi likh dega. Any book has strategy. So it's very hard to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and put your shoes on. I run about 4 times a week, but I must say out of 4 times, at least 3 times a week, I don't want to go for the run today. And I've been doing it for 10 years. It's never that every day morning you are raring to go and all, but you learn and you say, okay, you put your shoes on and you sometimes say, you know what, I'll just do an half an hour run instead of 1 hour run. And all of us are indisciplined. We human beings are built to be indisciplined, but I think we also have that inner thing which can allow us to be disciplined. But it's always a little bit of effort, but that effort is not hard. And I always say two things: exercise for 20 minutes a day and try and meditate for 5 or 10 minutes a day. If you can do both of that, it's actually very important because the human body is designed to be still. You want to be just still whole day. You want to sit in the chair or lie on the bed, and you have to make an effort to make it active, and that is called exercise. The human mind is exactly the opposite. It wants to be active. After your hard day's work, you hit the bed at 9 o'clock and your brain goes buzz, 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 and doesn't allow you to sleep. So keeping your mind quiet and your body active rather than your mind active and your body quiet is the key challenge in this, and your entire physical health, mental health depends on that. And I do encourage people, start with 5 minutes meditation, 10 minutes exercise, and then if you enjoy it, grow it.
Very, very interesting, sir. That is something that I think all of us have gained a lot from this point. Sir, currently EFSL has launched an NCD. Any details you would like to share about that to this audience, sir, to all of us?
I think a lot of details are there, like it's a 200 crore issue with a green shoe of 200. We are trying to encourage, monthly interest, because the feedback we have got from a lot of our partners and employees that most investors are looking for an income every month, because I think that has become, interest income is an important income if it comes every month for people. So we have all those features out there. I'm sure there are a lot of experts which can show you. I think we have a good attractive coupon and all that on that. And since the issue is open, I can't talk too much about it, but our idea is that I think if we can create, if we can have this kind of instrument which meets our need, but also meets the need of our investors, and if you can do that regularly, there is a win-win out there, because I think investors do want yield. I also, as an investor, I want to put part of my savings into yielding, yielding assets which give me a yield every month. Not everything is in equity all the time, because equity has its own attractiveness, but has its own volatility and liquidity and income, while bonds have their own features. And I think every investor has a mix of different asset classes. So we have tried to create this NCD issue in a way that meets the needs of our investors, and we are hoping that that we get good response. Any feedback on how to cater to the needs of investors will always be very welcome, because all of you are the ones who are close to you are investors, or you are close to the investors as you go along. But that is our approach. Our idea is to build a franchise with our retail customers, a bond franchise, so that we can raise debentures for ourselves, but also provide a good workable uh, investment instrument for our investors and customers also.
So, sir, thanks for that. And whilst we've been doing this conversation, I think we've been getting a lot of questions from our audience. With your permission, I will just take a few of them, because
Sure, yeah,
we
yeah.
have, right. So, sir, to start off, the one question that we have is, we have our partners on this call who have been a very, very strong pillar of our business, in the times to come, that have gone by. Sir, what would be your advice कि वो अपनी business कैसे scale up करें, sir, in the coming years for our partners, sir?
So I think, as I said, I think if you focus on customers' needs rather than your needs, see, ultimately your needs are also important, because ultimately you also have to take care. But अगर आपका priority है कि first I see customer की need क्या है, and then see whether my needs can also get met while meeting the customer needs. That usually very easy, very commonsensical. But I think for anybody building a business, that is the first and the rule, that what is the customer need and how is this satisfying the customer need, and then how that is satisfying my need. Because if you put your need before the customer need, it works in the short term, it may work, but it will never work in the long term. The second is, I said, take a long term view. All of you are very smart people, you will do very well in the long term, but having that patience for the long term to say that okay, it will, you have to build it brick by brick, slowly and steadily. Having that patience, and a lot of you are very young people, and that is always an advantage because you have a long horizon in front of you. Third, I would say manage your cost and finances and all very well. Just make sure you always have enough cash flow, you always have enough liquidity, you always have enough equity if you need equity. Also, if your business needs equity, I always tell people थोड़ा ज़्यादा equity होना चाहिए. Like even Edelweiss, if you've seen in the last 4 years, we have raised this, 2,400 crores from PAG for the wealth management business. We raised 1,000 crores from CDPQ in our credit business in 2019. We raised 300 crores from Kora Sanaka in wealth and asset management business last year. We did a QIP in 2017 and raised 1,500 crores. We have always made sure that while we grow the businesses, we only also make sure they're well capitalized. So well capitalization is also a very important one. And the last one is, I would say, take care of yourself, invest in your training and development, and all of that is always very important. So I think because a lot of people ignore that part. So as I said, these are the simple rules, but if you take a long-term view, have faith in India, I think there is just a lot of opportunity. But shortcuts are always going to be a problem. So don't be in a hurry. Have a sense of urgency, but don't be hasty. Especially in the long term, सब कुछ चल जाएगा. I mean, this is not even a test match. You have a lot of overs. So एक दो ओवर अगर maiden over भी निकल गई तो problem नहीं है. We all try to play this as T20, and I think building a business is not a T20. And the last thing I would say is make fewer errors. If you can just reduce that, the growth will take care of itself. And most of the unforced errors happen because you compromise on your rules or you compromise on your value system and all that. That is where unforced errors happen. So if you don't commit unforced errors, you can wait because the market is not an opponent. It keeps on giving you easy balls, and you just make sure you don't commit any unforced error. Just focus on that, take the long-term view, and everything will ultimately work out well.
Right, sir. I have a question here, sir, that there's been a lot of talk on cryptocurrency, whether it should be banned. Would you like to put some views on that, sir? Your views, sir, on the same?
So actually, I don't think it should be banned. That is my view, because I think it's already an innovation that is out there. It is already there. But governments all over the world are very anxious because if cryptocurrency is going to replace your regular currency, then one of the big important instruments that any government has goes away. So I think cryptocurrency, if it becomes like gold, which is more like a store of value. So if a Bitcoin is a replacement to gold, I don't think people will have a problem and it will not get banned because it's another item where you store value. You can store value in land, you can store value in equity, you can store value in gold, you can store value in Bitcoin. When it becomes a medium of exchange, like in the earlier times, gold was a medium of exchange, gold coins were there. But your government controls the medium of exchange, which is your currency. So I think the store of value part of it is will happen. The governments will obviously want to control the currency part of it, which is the means of exchange. I think eventually a lot of cryptocurrencies will be government led. Government themselves will come out with cryptocurrency. The third problem on that happens is anonymity, because but that is there in cash also. Today cash is anonymous, right? Because when you take 100 rupees and spend that, it's anonymous. There is no trail, there is no track of that. I think cryptocurrency will also have that. So it will be like a electronic currency. And we are seeing things in China and all that they are trying with with an electronic currency. So I'm very confident that eventually electronic currency is the way to go. Governments will try to have some control over that. But as store of value, there'll be multiple such products. Like already we have many forms of bitcoins and NFTs and all that that will come about.
Right. Right, sir. There are questions coming in, sir. Just one more question for the paucity of time, sir. We would like to know, the audience would like to know about your views on the RBI policy, sir, that's got announced today. Any of your views on that, sir?
I think it's a, I mean, it was expected along expected lines, and it is a good thing because I think the good thing about last 2 years of RBI have been they've been very accommodative. I think we are seeing really loose monetary policy, and I've grown up in India. I think Indian Reserve Bank has always been a lot more biased towards a tighter monetary policy than a looser monetary policy. और उसकी उसकी ये वजह है बिकॉज इन्फ्लेशन वाज ऑलवेज अ प्रॉब्लम. इंडिया हैज ऑलवेज बीन फाइटिंग इन्फ्लेशन. सो आप जब भी कॉन्स्टेंटली इन्फ्लेशन को फाइट करते हो, it's very hard to keep a loose monetary policy. And most government keep a loose fiscal policy. So RBI used to counterbalance it with a tighter monetary policy. So inflation हाथ से निकल ना जाए. I think last 2 years for the first time, and in fact this year after the budget, for the first time we are seeing a loosening monetary policy and a loosening fiscal policy. And that's the biggest spur for growth. Obviously, inflation will always be a concern, but given where the global economy is, given where the commodity prices are, I do think inflation may not be that big a concern. But in India, inflation will always remain a concern. So जैसे हम जब भी गाड़ी चलाते हैं, एक पैर एक्सेलेरेटर पे होता है, एक पैर ब्रेक पे होता है. Brake is always the inflation is always the brake in India. I do hope that we don't have to use that break. And currently, both RBI and government is putting their focus on the accelerator, which is a good thing. And I think for this year at least, the RBI policy is good for the economy.
Right, 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 sir. Thanks a lot for sharing these insights and sharing your experience. And I think, we've learned so much from it. I'm certain that each one of us, sir, right from the audience to all of us, has benefited vastly in this interaction. To our audience, thanks a lot for tuning in and remember to stay safe. Thank you, sir. Thanks again. Thanks to all of you.
All the best, everybody. Stay safe and thank you very much. I always find these interactions very energizing. So thank you for this opportunity.